Friends and honoured guests, the century following the Opium Wars was one of turbulence and strife in China, a time when heroes arose in great numbers. Wave after wave, men and women of high ideals sought a path forward, striving for the nation's wealth, independence, and honour. Among them shone Long Yun, an illustrious hero of China's minorities, whose wise rule over Yunnan province endured for 18 years. Long ago, in a remote Ye village, a good omen appeared, the birth of a child destined to become the king of Yunnan. From that moment, the son of the mountains, Long Yun, set forth on a life that would leave an enduring mark on history. Vast and truly boundless are the Wumeng Mountains, like a jewel set into the Yungui Plateau, proudly spanning the two provinces of Yunnan and Guizhou. Their grandeur is immense, and an ancient, unceasing thread of time winds its way here, never truly resting. From this place pour countless atmospheric forms. Winds and clouds sweep across the four seas, sweeping toward the small sea. On the Jinsha riverbank, deep in the Wumeng Mountains, there is a plain Yi village named Songle Village. It sits in the northwest corner of Yanshan Town, Chaoyang District, Jiaotong City, Yunnan Province, and is set apart from the river by the rolling waters of the Jinsha. In this region, Yunnan's Yanshan meets Sichuan's Liangshan. Songle Village rests its head on Wumeng Mountain and its feet on the Jinsha River, a village that spans two provinces. Long Yun's ancestral homeland, Songle Village, rests on the eastern edge of the Jinsha River's vast canyon. Perched atop a sheer cliff and surrounded by a labyrinth of ravines and gullies, it is a place so formidable that it could have sheltered 1,000 people. Across the river, the two mountains, Daliang and Wumeng, face each other, framing the rugged landscape. Situated in Yunnan's Jiaotong region, in the northeast of the Dian area, the village sits at the crossroads of Yunnan, Guizhou, and Sichuan provinces, its name honouring its embrace of the Wumeng mountain range. During the Yongzheng era of the Qing dynasty, the once hidden Wumeng region was renamed Jiaotong, meaning illustrious and open in communication. Since ancient times, this region has been celebrated as a cradle of Yi culture. Among the Yi people, 4 qualities are especially revered: their drumming, antiquity, wisdom, and enduring spirit. What a bold, daring display this is, and it means holding fast to what is right, even when it is hard. The Yi people are traditionally divided into 2 main groups, Black Yi and White Yi. Among them, White Yi are ordinary commoners, while Black Yi are the upper-class nobles who hold high offices and exercise governance in the realm. In those years, at Yan Mountain in the Jiaotong area, 3 Yi families lived side by side, namely the Najilong family, the Haixinong family, and the Jidaru family. They all belonged to the Black Yi. Most of Yan Mountain's land was owned by peasant households, and our ancestors were tenant farmers on that land for that family lineages there. On November 19, 1884, in the Najilong family of Songle village's Xiaoyingpan, a newborn arrived, and the head of the household Najivati was overjoyed. For this newborn son, he chose a pleasant Yi name, Najiwusa. This would later be the famous Long Yun, the king of Yunnan. "100 years ago, Songle village was very remote, distant, and sealed off from the world. The endless Wumeng Mountains stretched around it, dividing this place from the outside world. As early as the 30s of the last century, Long Yun's eldest son's wife, Hu Shuzhen, wife of the dragon god, had once returned to Songle village. Not long ago, the centenarian Hu Shuzhen passed away in the United States, but a few months before her death, she still vividly remembered that perilous journey. We travelled from Jiaotong to Songle village, taking about 3 days. A divine horseman rode, while I rode in a palanquin. We passed a place called Dupo. It was truly a steep, dangerous slope, and at the time it felt quite terrifying. Afterwards it left a deep impression on me. I still recall the dusty road, the heat. Time quickly moved to 1888, when the Yi family's young boy, Long Yun, was 4 years old, and his mother was carrying a soon-to-be-born younger sister. Suddenly, a great upheaval struck. Long Yun's father, Naji Wati, met an untimely death in a violent fight. After he was killed in a blood feud with the headman of another Yi family, he was buried in his ancestral village. Naji Wati, whose Chinese name was Longxing Quan, had originally come from the ancestral village of the Black Yi in Jinyang County, Liangshan, Sichuan Province. In his youth, he had been brave and skilled in battle. Later, he was invited across the Jinsha River to Songla village to aid the Hai family, a branch of the Black Yi whose Han surname was also Long, in settling a blood feud. After victory was achieved, the elder matriarch of the Hai family gave her daughter in marriage to Naji Wati, Long Yun's mother. Historically, the record says his nature was gentle and benevolent. In only a handful of words, that is how he is described. That, however, concerns an appraisal of his mother. In 1923, his mother, who had depended on Long Yun since childhood, died of illness. Afterwards, Long Yun moved her tomb from the old home at Yanshan and reburied it on Xiaosong Mountain, south of Jiaotong City. After Long Yun took charge of Yunnan, he also built the Long family ancestral hall beside Bojuan village at the foot of Xiaosong Mountain, to emphasize the heavenly order of filial duty and to express deep affection for his mother. Such acts reveal the boundless devotion of a son and the depth of a family's reverence in their memory. When the Long family's ancestral hall was completed, Chiang Kai-shek chose two lofty historical allusions with far-reaching implications as its subject and inscribed them on the hall plaque, naming it "The Wind Blasts the Unyielding Hero." In his youth, Long Yun gained a reputation for taking on bandits. On one occasion, while crossing the Jinsha River to confront them, he ran into grave danger and barely escaped with his life. Responsible for the safety of many people, he devoted himself to practicing martial arts throughout his life. From a young age, he was also a skilled horseman and archer, which made his martial abilities even more impressive. Though not tall, he was exceptionally agile and maintained his strength and fitness throughout his life. This was a chaotic period at the end of the Qing dynasty, when bandits roamed freely. The young Long Yun began to build his first legend through his strength and skill. One day, more than 20 heavily armed bandits came from Sichuan province and besieged Songol village for several days, throwing the entire settlement into panic. At that moment, Long Yun stepped forward, moving boldly under the bandits' eyes and quietly taking position. My father then secretly organized domestic workers and capable tenants to act at night while the bandits slept. The young Long Yun outwitted the fierce bandits, and his fame quickly spread across the region. When the Jiaotong magistrate heard of it, he summoned Long Yun and appointed him to assist the imperial court in eliminating the local bandits at the western crossing of the Jinsha River. Full of energy and determination, Long Yun returned to the mountains of Songol village, organized over 20 men, and prepared to cross the river. But the wooden ferry overturned in the turbulent waters, and only Long Yun survived. This incident, then, that crushing blow dealt to my father, was immense, for all of his trusted friends are gone now, and thus he felt there was no longer any point or meaning in our homeland. After heading to Sichuan for this shipwreck that followed the accident, the very hot-blooded Long Yun fell into a low valley of fate. He felt he could never again see Songol village's aging elders and his fellow villagers. So he took his cousin Luo Han and his good friend Zhu Ruhang, and together they set off far away to Yibin in Sichuan. An accident that year, a shipwreck, forced a young Long Yun to flee from the Wumeng mountain range and come all the way to Sichuan to roam the wide world. Then a revolutionary flood surged, and Sichuan province launched a vigorous ferry-keeping campaign. After the Xinhai Revolution broke out, Long Yun and his cousin Lu Han chose to join the army. In Yibin, Sichuan, they joined the Dian army units. The Dian army unit was led by Xie Ruyi. On January 1st, 1912, the Republic of China was established. In May, the Dian Army's Yunnan-Sichuan frontier campaigns ended. Senior official Xie Ruyi led the 1st Regiment back to Kunming and began downsizing. As unofficial personnel, Long Yun and Lu Han faced discharge and unemployment. Kunming housed the renowned Yunnan Military Academy, founded in 1909, one of 3 Great Late Qing military academies whose graduates included Zhu Di and Ye Jianying. After the evacuation, Long Yun resolved to seek admission and brought his cousin Lu Han to apply to the Yunnan Army's 5 study halls. Long Yun and Lu Han were extraordinarily close. Both hailed from Salt Mountain Township and were cousins. Lu Han, courtesy name Yonghengyi, clan name Ji, and Long Yun were Yi people from Jiaotong, Yunnan, 11 years apart, with Lu Han younger. Deep in the Wumeng Mountains, Lu Han's aunt and paternal grandmother were related to Long Yun through his mother. The Long family's Songol village and the Lu family's Zhongzai village lay across a single ridge, Tuoji Liangzi. The boundary between households ran along the stone slope street, named for the girl who first marked it. That year's entrance examination had ended. Through Xie Ruyi's protection, Long Yun and Lu Han obtained a supplementary examination chance. Since registration had closed, they visited Xie Ruyi personally. He consented and drafted a notice permitting them to set the Jiangwu Hall examination. On results day, the anxious pair arrived at Jiangwu Hall's gate to view the posted admission list. Too nervous to look directly, they scanned from the bottom upward. Finding his name, he was overjoyed. Someone remarked that Shu's introduction to the Jianghu had secured their admission. Some say that despite the arrangement, they still took the examinations. Was there truly a secret alliance with Xie Ruyi? Though their results were poor, the army and martial world still sought them out. In autumn 1912, Long Yun crossed the threshold of destiny and entered the Yunnan Military Academy. His 2 years of relentless study and grueling practice quickly forged him into a capable and courageous soldier. The air around Long Yun was heavy with a somber gloom. As the Yi people say, their spirit is fierce and indomitable. Long Yun's rise from a mountain village to prominence in Yunnan owed much to his fearless, action-driven courage and unwavering resolve. In early Republican China, the nation remained in turmoil. Wars raged, calamity spread, and warlords carved the land. Yunnan, on the southwestern frontier, had already changed hands twice. First under Kai Yi, the venerable Xinhai leader, then under Governor Tang Jiao. In summer 1914, as Long Yun neared graduation, a French heavyweight arrived from Vietnam, claiming invincibility and setting up a fighting ring at the Yunnan Martial Academy. Tang Jiao declared that if no one defeated the foreigner within 3 days, he would open a school in Kunming to take disciples. The Frenchman's boasting forced Tang Jiao's hand, leaving the famous academy in a tense position. His skill was undeniable. 2 days passed, and every Chinese martial artist who stepped onto the stage fled. As the 3-day deadline approached, Tang Jiao watched anxiously from the stands. Then, defying his illness, Long Yun leapt onto the platform. The French master glanced down and sneered. "Oh, it's a little fellow." Farmland men stood around 160 meters, while the boxer towered at nearly 180. Looking at Long Yun, barely over 160 meters, he scoffed. "And what can this tiny fellow possibly do?" Long Yun spoke little. He swung his fists, and they seemed to grow larger as the Chinese circle clashed with Western fists, your strike, my counter, and they spiraled into a dizzying whirl of blows, like a lamp spinning atop a galloping horse. The cheers surged, wave after wave, above Jiangwu Hall, relentless and roaring. Suddenly, Long Yun sprang into the air and delivered a flying kick, his cloth shoes soaring like arrows. When he landed, what followed? After a few deft maneuvers, he began to feint endlessly, elusive and clever, his footwork a blur as he evaded every attack, then seized the instant with a lightning-quick strike. It is said one move was called Cat Washes the Face, another Monk's Mighty Bell, and then, with a final surge of power, he sent the French strongman tumbling from the platform. Long Yun defeated the French boxer decisively, elevating the honour of China. Tang Jiao, governor of Yunnan, was deeply stirred, his mind lingering on this remarkable Yi youth named Long Yun. December 1915, the National Restoration Movement erupted. On the recommendation of his friend Zhu Ruheng, Long Yun was sent north to Kunming to serve Tang Jiao as his lieutenant and aide. 6 years later, Tang Jiao ordered Long Yun promoted to the commander of the Yunnan Army's 11th Regiment, leading the unit stationed at Mengzi, a key town in southern Yunnan. Long Yun led his troops to a rapid, decisive garrison for a short time, as a disaster bore down on Tang Jiao, the governor of Yunnan. On February 8, 1921, the first day of the lunar year, the Sichuan Yunnan Army's First Army under Gu Pinjin returned to Yunnan and moved to overthrow Tang Jiao amid the flashing blades. Tang Jiao was forced from power and fled along the Kunming-Mengzi route. The Lunar New Year of 1921 had just passed when Tang Jiao fled to the southern town of Mengzi and then prepared to travel via the Yunnan-Vietnam Railway to cross into Vietnam, ending up in exile in Hong Kong, where he met his trusted general Long Yun. As he passed through Zhejiang, the peasants there still showed loyalty to him. So what then? At first, Long Yun planned to move the peasants to Hong Kong, but he soon reconsidered, realizing that he needed them in southern Yunnan as a base for striking back at Yunnan. As a result, he left the peasants along the Yunnan border, managing them effectively to support his eventual return to service, and the peasants fully accepted his leadership. In the spring of 1921, at Mengzi, the Tanglong Conference left Tang Jiao deeply impressed. Even as his own subordinate, Gu Pinjin, rose against him, Long Yun marshalled troops to defend his benefactor. Facing Tang Jiao, Long Yun's loyalty soared to the heavens. The small town of Mengzi once again became a stage in the unfolding chapters of his life. Long Yun remained utterly loyal to Tang Jiao and was deeply grateful for the support he had received. From the army ranks to the corridors of power, Tang Jiao had consistently assisted him. In March 1922, with Long Yun's backing, Tang Jiao defeated Gu Pinzhen and regained control of Yunnan, a period historically known as Tang Jiao's second return to power. That year, after Tang Jiao's return, he appointed the peasants as the 5th Army Commander and Kunming's garrison commander, giving them effective control of the Tang faction and a deep understanding of balancing power. At the same time, Long Yun was named Kunming's garrison commander. Hu Ruoyu took charge of Mengzi, Zhang Ruji commanded Jiaotong, and Li Xuanting became the garrison commander in Dali. On June 14, 1927, at dawn, fierce gunfire ripped through the morning sky as Hu Ruoyu and Zhang Rujie joined forces to mobilize troops in Yunnan to topple Tang Jiao, launching a coup known as the 6-4 coup. Long Yun, a man famed for loyalty and righteousness, stood firmly in opposition. In fact, the peasants did not participate in overthrowing Tang either, a point that underscored the logic of events. Others among them prepared to besiege Tang Jiao, so Long Yun rode the tide of the moment. And so, under his guidance, Tang Jiao was given a chance to step down, yet it was insisted that Tang Jiao's life must not be harmed, a condition Long Yun proposed. Thus Tang Xiao was deposed again. 3 months later, Tang Xiao died bitterly of illness, yet Tang Jiao's resolve to resist and his dignity remained highly respected. Of course, especially after Tang Jiao's death, Long Yun went to Kunming's Yuantong Mountain to tend to Tang Jiao's tomb, giving it a fitting, solemn burial. After Tang Jiao's death, the rift among the 4 garrison commandants sharpened. On the early dawn of June 14, 1927, the roar of gunfire tore the dawn as Hu Ruoyu and Zhang Rujie colluded and suddenly deployed troops to encircle Long Yun at his Kunming residence beside Quihu Lake. This was seen as the 6-4 coup. The gunfire spread. Awakened from sleep, the Long people realized that trouble was afoot, and they moved to organize guards to counterattack while swinging their long spears in defiance. My father, inside, resisted, firing again and again. A flare suddenly erupted, and flames leapt from behind, spraying toward his eyes. But what happened next? His sight, if it could even be called sight, was terribly poor. An explosion erupted from the rear of Tang's rifle, permanently damaging Long Yun's right eye and compromising his vision for life. He would later wear eyeglasses and became known as the One-Eyed Dragon. As the fighting raged on both sides, the French consul general in Kunming, Luc Sibi, appeared to mediate. Seizing the moment, Hu Ruoyu and his men pressured Long Yun to resign and go abroad. Long Yun then went alone to Wuhua Mountain, intending to confront Hu Ruoyu face to face and demand an explanation. But Hu Ruoyu avoided him, and in the end, Long Yun, in anger and shame, was seized. Because of his reputed martial prowess, he was confined in an iron cage. Thus, Long Yun would spend his life lamenting the loss of his eye. At the time of the injury, his confinement had deprived him of proper treatment. That eye accompanied him throughout his life, into old age. Fortunately, by the time of the 6-4 coup, Long Yun's subordinates had already safely withdrawn from Kunming. Though imprisoned, his influence remained, and Hu Ruoyu, fearing consequences, did not dare to kill him. On July 25, 1927, Luo Han led a counterattack on Kunming. Hu Ruoyu could not resist, and Long Yun was escorted to the eastern outskirts of the city near Da Banqiao Bridge. After negotiations, the two sides reached the famous Banqiao Agreement, and Long Yun was finally released in 1927. On August 13th, Long Yun returned to Kunming from Banqiao and swiftly assumed control of the province, taking the helm of Yunnan with expansive and centralized power, and his ascendancy marked a turning point in Yunnan's political history. For historians, The period begins on that date, August 13, 1927, when Long Yun seized authority, and ends in 1945, when he left Yunnan. For the people of the province, it began with that decisive grab for power and ended with his departure in the mid-century. In all, that 18-year span saw Long Yun govern Yunnan as the province's longest-serving top leader during the Republican era. On August 13, 1927, after enduring grievous trials, Long Yun again assumed the chairmanship of the Yunnan Provincial Affairs Committee. Thus, Yunnan entered an 18-year Long Yun era. The most dramatic development, by any reasonable account, is that on the day of the June 14th coup, Chiang Kai-shek, who had already ascended to the top leadership chair of the Kuomintang government in Nanjing, perhaps not fully grasping all of its far-reaching consequences, suddenly issued a commission that left many people puzzled and surprised. He appointed Long Yun to command the National Revolutionary Army's 38th Army, and Hu Ruoyu to command the 39th Army. Later, historians suggest that Chiang's move was like pouring gasoline on a fire, designed to push the already unsettled situation in Yunnan toward even greater turmoil and to provoke further regional instability there. In any case, this constitutes the first political contact between Long Yun and Chiang Kai-shek in their lifetimes. In January 1928, Chiang Kai-shek formally appointed Long Yun as the chairman of Yunnan province. Then, after Long Yun took charge of Yunnan, what exactly were the unusual or out of the ordinary steps he took? How will his life path extend again? Please everyone, tomorrow continue to watch Wumeng's proud son Long Yun, Episode 2, Building a New Yunnan. Next up, we shall bring you China Resources Phoenix Focus.